John Lowenhaupt graduated as one of the most complete and accomplished players in William & Mary men's basketball history, starring during one of the program's most successful eras. A do-it-all small forward, Lowenhaupt finished his career in the top 10 all-time in points, rebounds, and assists. He scored over 1,800 career points in 112 games, ranking third at the time and still fifth all-time today. His career average of 16.7 points per game and 51.7 shooting percentage made him a model of consistency, leading the Tribe in shooting percentage all 4 years. Lowenhaupt also led the team in assists for 3 straight seasons, finishing with 369 for his career, then a school record, and still third all-time. At 6'5", he was the team's leading rebounder in 3 of his 4 seasons, collecting 669 career boards, which still ranks 11th. As a senior, he averaged 19.4 points, 6.3 rebounds, and 4.5 assists per game, leading the team in all 3 categories. That season, he helped W&M notch one of its most historic wins, scoring 21 points in an upset over number 2 North Carolina at Kaplan Arena. The Tar Heels, coached by Dean Smith and led by All-American Phil Ford, remain the highest-ranked team the Tribe men have ever defeated. A 2-time All-Southern Conference selection, Lowenhaupt earned first-team honors in 1976 and second-team in 1977. His number 42 jersey was among the first retired in program history, an honor shared by just 6 players. John Lowenhaupt's legacy is cemented not just in stats, but in defining moments and enduring impact on Tribe basketball. John Lowenhaupt, welcome to the William & Mary Athletics Hall of Fame.
This is some group here. I'd like to thank the Hall of Fame committee for this honor. There are many people who helped me during my basketball career. I'm going to single out some of them. First of all, my parents. They drove me all over the place in New York City. They drove me in the summers. They drove me to my practices, to my games. And they even let me not work during the summers, as all my friends did, and gave me spending money so I didn't have to work. So I thank them for that. My high school coach was Jack Curran. He was one of the best coaches in the country. He coached an Olympian, he coached numerous pros, and he coached hundreds of Division I athletes. He taught me fundamentals, and fundamentals is what allowed me to play from a freshman and allowed me to play every game here at William & Mary. People ask me why I picked William & Mary. Well, my high school coach, I was good in school, good academics. And he had 2 players who had been to Princeton and Dartmouth. Again, I'm from New York City, and that's near there. And so I visited those schools and liked them. But then something said I should look for someplace else. So I looked at William & Mary. And my coach called George Balanis, who was the assistant coach at the time, and he visited and said, I think that'd be a pretty good fit. So I visited William & Mary as well. And I eliminated Dartmouth because it was too cold. Sorry, Brian, it's too cold over there. And then it was between Princeton and William & Mary. And Princeton they didn't give athletic scholarships, they just gave academic. And they said, you can come here, it only costs you a few $1,000s. I said, and they'd give you a good job. I said, well, okay, that sounds good, great school. Then I visited William & Mary, and they said, you can come and don't pay anything. And I said, well, that sounds really good. Well, I had 6 boys in my family, no girls. I was the 5th. I went to an all-boys high school, no girls. And so my communication with the female sect was lacking. And my wife still says it is, by the way. But so back then, for all you older people, you didn't have computers to figure out what college to go to. You have these big manuals with all the facts. And I looked at Princeton and I said, male, 60%, female, 40%, male-female ratio. Okay, maybe. William & Mary, 55 female, 45 male. I'm going there. So I eliminated Princeton. Sorry, Brian. That's why I decided against Princeton. My freshman year, The year before I got here, the team didn't do too well. They had a big losing season, and they brought in 7 freshmen. And 4 of us are here today, myself, Mike Enoch, Jack Arbogast, and Doug Myers. And there's one person who isn't here, John Kratzer. I'll talk a little bit about him later. But John was a character. He was from Tucker, Georgia, and my wife and I named our son Tucker, not after a dog that Mike Enoch had after college, but after Tucker, Georgia, in honor of our friend John Kratzer. John was a character, charismatic. He just didn't have the fundamentals that I was able to have in high school, so it took him a while to get up to speed. Our freshman year, though, we overachieved. We were in the Southern Conference, and we were picked to be in the bottom of it, but we upset some teams, made it to the conference finals, almost beat Furman, but lost by this much, so we didn't make it to the big dance. My sophomore year, we had the best team talent we ever had, but we underachieved. We had a winning record, but we underachieved. My junior year, the same thing. We underachieved. But then my senior year, which I call the magical year, I think our team that year epitomized the phrase, the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. We had 4 seniors who had played together for 4 years, and that doesn't happen anymore, but we had 4 guys who knew each other and could play, and we had a gangly 6'8" sophomore. We started the season 4-1, pretty good. Then a team called North Carolina comes to town, and they had just lost the NCAA championship the year before, and they're in North Carolina, of course. And then they had Dean Smith. They had superior talent than we did, without a question. They had Phil Ford, who's one of the best college guards ever, if anybody ever seen him play, and they were ranked number 2 in the country. The game was on a Wednesday night, which is the last day of classes, and anybody who's ever been to William & Mary knows that's a good time. To be honest, most of the people William & Mary Hall was full. The yellow seats, full. The concrete, full. They brought in temporary bleachers on both sides of the court to get more people in there. And I think most people were there to watch them, not us, but be that as it may. I heard recently, I read an article that there might have been close to 10,000 people there because of the extra seats. During warm-ups, we heard some people clapping, and our friend John Kratzer had just come up from the locker room. And John, at the end of his sophomore year, he was getting better, as I said. He didn't have the talent. I mean, he didn't have the fundamentals. He was getting better, and he developed cancer. So he had an operation, went through chemo, and this was in the 70s, in the early stages. And he was in remission. He came back his junior year and started playing well. End of his junior year, cancer came back again. So we hadn't seen him till that night. He came in, we all gave him a big hug, and believe it or not, we won that game. And I think why? And I think maybe it's because we realized that he was, when you're 21 years old, you think nothing can happen to you. Doug Myers once told me, you think you're bulletproof, nothing can happen. Well, I think we realized at that time that things can happen, that what he's going through is a little bit more important than running up and down a basketball court playing with the ball. So, we somehow won that game. We weren't supposed to, but we did. Now, that night was the last day of class, as I said. And the last day of class is what you do, you have a party. So for some of us basketball players, we lived in lodges at the time, and we had a keg on tap. And we were going to have a party afterwards, win or lose. Well, we won, and everybody on campus came out. And we wound up at 1 o'clock in the morning or 12 o'clock having to get another keg. So we had a huge party. About 2 in the morning, my teammate Jack Arbogast goes someplace and steps on a nail, went through his foot. We were leaving the next morning to go to Utah to play a basketball tournament. Well, we drive to the hospital where Dr. Jim Barton, who's in the Hall of Fame here, by the way, treats us. He says, I was listening to the game on the radio and great and everything, and so he fixed them up really well. Jack wound up having a great tournament, and we won that tournament. So we're feeling great. We go home for Christmas, we come back, and we have a tournament in Florida. We win that one too. We're 9-1, feeling invincible. Then the wheels fell off the bus. We lost a lot of close games. We weren't that talented. We played well together. We weren't that talented, but we wound up 16-10. And we had left the Southern Conference, so we weren't in a league. So we weren't in a conference, so we had no way to get to the NCAAs. But it was a magical year because of beating North Carolina and winning the tournaments and having John Kratzer come back. But after college, John Kratzer died a week after graduation. He was posthumously awarded, he was the first recipient of the U.S. Basketball Writers' Most Courageous Player Award, 1978. Subsequent winners of that award were Jim Valvano, which we all know about Jim, well, most of you probably do, and Steve Kerr, who I found out recently, I'd forgotten, playing basketball in college, his father was shot and killed. So that took some courage there. After college, I settled here in Williamsburg. I've lived there for 51 years now. My wife, BJ, is here. And we met playing volleyball. BJ played volleyball in college, and I played with her, poorly, I might add. And my son, Tucker, I mentioned before, and my daughter, Jordan, with two of her 3 children, Skylar and Beckham, are here. I played recreation basketball, which living here allowed me to do with a lot of players who stayed here. And some of them are Billy Barnes, who's in the Hall of Fame here. We have Kenny Bowen. I played against him. I'm not sure if he played with him. Mark Batesville, Kenny Tyler. And then I have a soccer player, a soccer friend, Keith Exton, who played. And I realize now why soccer players like basketball so much, because in soccer you may score a goal once every few games, but basketball you can score a lot. And that's why Keith Exton, when he played with us, never saw a shot he didn't like. And he shot all the time. And again, I treasured my 4 years here, and I made lifelong friends. And it's a little sad that in the current environment, there aren't that many people who are going to be here 4 years from now. I mean, 4 years in college at one institution. But anyway, again, thank you for the Hall of Fame committee for voting me in, and go Tribe.